Hey everyone, Reclaimer with 2XP Gaming, and today is going to be my last video that I'm going to do on the iPhone X, and it is my overall impressions and overall review of the iPhone X after 7 days of use. And I hope you like what I have to say, so let's go ahead and get started. So if you've been watching our channel recently, you've seen that I've put a decent amount of videos on the iPhone X. I did an initial unboxing and impressions, and then I put up a couple videos of my first impressions of the phone after a few days of use. And those videos are in an iPhone X playlist, so be sure to check those out if you'd like to see more about the initial impressions of the phone. But now I've been using the phone for the last week, and I think I'm ready to give you a really good idea of what I think about the phone and if it's something that it's worth getting or not. So I have my iPhone X here. Yes, it's still here. It's still running. And let's go ahead and start with the positives of the device. The first thing that I want to comment on is the screen. The OLED display is a very, very good display. It's probably the best that Apple has put into a device to date. The colors are very vibrant, but they're not overly saturated. The True Tone display really is something that at first I didn't care about. I thought things looked a little too warm. But over time, I really got used to it, and I learned that it was actually reproducing colors in a very accurate manner. So the screen itself is very beautiful. Next, I think another positive for this phone is the form factor. So the form factor of this device, even though it has a larger screen than a 7 Plus or an 8 Plus, still feels better in your hand. So larger screen, but it feels better in your hand. Very easy to hold in my hand, easy to type with a thumb, which is nice. You're still able to type with 2 thumbs or however you like to type on your phone. It's very easy to do so. Another thumbs up, battery life. I mentioned in one of my first videos that my hope was to be able to get through an entire day using the iPhone X while still having roughly 20% battery left on the phone. I can tell you that with this last week of use, with I would say pretty heavy use days, especially when I'm at work and especially on the weekends, typically this thing does not go into low power mode. If it does go into low power mode, it's usually around 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So I'm able to get a full day of use with my battery without even kicking into low power mode. And that's with multiple phone calls throughout the day, tons of text messaging, checking different websites, going on social media, watching YouTube, checking out Reddit. It's really, the battery has been very impressive. In regards to another positive for the device, I've already talked about the screen, but I'm going to give this its own separate positive. The way that apps look on this display, it's phenomenal. If you are going through a social media feed, if you're reading text on web pages, it's almost like the phone falls away and really it allows you to view the text first and foremost, or view your pictures first and foremost. It almost feels like I'm not really using the phone. It's just I'm really engaged in what I'm reading. Now, that being said, there of course is the notch on the top of the device, but I found that I really don't notice the notch, with few exceptions. I'm going to talk about that when we get to the cons. But when you're using this to browse a variety of different apps, as long as the apps are iPhone X supported, which again, we'll talk about this in the cons, it's going to look beautiful. You really, really don't notice this notch after using it for a while. That, I would say, is really it for the positives, at least that I can think of for the time being. So let's go ahead and get to the negatives of using this phone. First off, and this is probably the most obvious, so I'm not going to hammer it to death, is the price. $1,000 for the base phone of this device, the 64 gigabyte model. And then it's about another $100, $150 if you want to go up to 256 gigabytes of storage. Now, I get it. It's a flagship phone for Apple. It has a lot of great technology in it. The camera is amazing. But I don't know. $1,000 is a really, really steep price point for a device. And if you are going to have the phone charged at $1,000, wouldn't it be nice, Apple, to maybe include a set of AirPods with these? I know AirPods are expensive in their own right, but you don't have a headphone jack on this, which I get it, Apple went away from headphone jacks. But it kind of feels almost like an insult when you unbox the device and you're still getting this little crappy Lightning to 3.5mm dongle with $1,000+ smartphone. Just doesn't seem to really rub me the right way. But your mileage, again, will vary on statements like that. Maybe you really don't care. You've got the money to burn. It's a steep adoption price for something like this. So I'm going to go ahead and label that as a con. Next thing I want to label as a con is the app support for iPhone 10 isn't all there yet. And you would think, major applications such as Gmail would be iPhone 10 supported. That's not the case. So all Apple first-party apps and a lot of apps out there have already been converted over for iPhone 10 support. So things are going to look beautiful on the screen. But when you're using an app that is not iPhone 10 supported, and it kind of goes into what I would call this like portrait letterbox mode, where you have black bars at the top and the bottom of the screen, it is absolutely noticeable. And it really kind of detracts from the experience because now you're getting this smaller screen and it just feels weird using the app. So my Gmail app is not iOS 10 supported yet. I'm sure it will get there. But I would have liked to see more third-party app support for the iPhone 10 out of the launch box. So for now, I'm going to label that a con. I don't necessarily think that's a con against Apple as it is against developers that knew this phone was coming, but they decided for whatever reason not to want to support it on launch day. I'm sure that the updates will be coming though. Now, that being said, one thing that I didn't mention in pro or con was, of course, Face ID. There's a reason that I'm not giving it a pro or a con. I have found Face ID to work a good amount of the time, and when it works, it's awesome. You don't really know it's even working unless something comes up. Maybe you're authenticating an app and it says, oh, Face ID. But literally, if I raise it to my face right now, it unlocks in a matter of moments. It's a really great thing when it works. I have found that I would say about maybe 20% to 10% of the time, Face ID does not authenticate on the first go-around. Now, I found that could be definitely because of how I'm looking at the device. So if I'm laying in bed or if I'm on the couch, laying on the couch, if I have my face in a certain method, typically if it's like, kind of one of these, it doesn't seem to authenticate on the first go. Or if I'm outside, it's cold weather right now, so I'm wearing winter jackets and I have a hood on or, a certain hat that's starting to obscure the top of my face or my irises a little bit, it doesn't authenticate then. And you might be saying, Reclaimer, like, come on, what do you expect? It's true. It's going to happen like that, and I don't think that that's necessarily a dig on Apple or anything. But that's when you kind of notice the downsides to Face ID, and you just wish you had that Touch ID button that you could go ahead and unlock the phone. Now, I will say with the cold weather coming around, it's nice being able to authenticate my phone while wearing gloves. That is definitely a positive. But I've also noticed sometimes with Face ID that it's sometimes slow, where I raise it to my face and I look at it and I don't see the unlock button or animation, I should say. I don't see it happen for maybe a second or two. Now, with all that said, do I think you should buy this iPhone 10 here? Well, you can't buy this one. This one's mine. But do I think you should go out and buy an iPhone 10? If you are an Apple customer, so you are in the Apple ecosystem already, you have an iPad, you have a current iPhone, you have a Mac, whatever. If you have an older device, and what I mean by older here is if you're running an iPhone 7, maybe even you want to go that far, but if you're running like an iPhone 6 or below, you have the money and you want to really try out something awesome, I think that it would be worth getting this device because you're already integrated into the Apple ecosystem, so you're already using their different apps and software. You're using the iTunes Store, the App Store, what have you. You're going to be upgrading your screen, which is going to be great. You're going to be upgrading your battery. You're going to be upgrading your camera. And you're going to have the latest and greatest in Apple technology. So I'm going to go ahead and say if you have an iPhone 6 or below, yes, this is worth the upgrade. If you have an iPhone 7, do I think this is worth it? I'm going to say that is truly up to you. I can't tell you that I miss my iPhone 7 Plus. I don't miss it. I'm very happy that I made the upgrade. But is it worth $1,000 to upgrade from an iPhone 7 or 7 Plus to this? Personally, I don't think so. I think you could probably wait another year, let some new improvements come into the iPhone 10 and with Face ID, and then maybe do an upgrade in 2018. In my experience, typically when it comes down to should I buy this iPhone or not, it's usually Apple customers that are asking that question. But if you're not an Apple customer and you really seem to like this, maybe you want to go try it out at an Apple store or your wireless carrier store and then make that decision. Again, it's an expensive decision to make, so choose wisely. All that said, that is pretty much it for my iPhone 10 series. So, I'm not sorry that this was a long video. I don't even know if people are going to stick around to watch the whole thing, but if you did, thank you. I appreciate it. I hope that not only this video, but the day in the life videos where we showed you some really quick things that we've done with the product and the unboxing, I hope that was helpful for you. Make sure if you did find it helpful to leave a like. If you didn't find it helpful, dislike it or don't, whatever, but let us know why in the comments. If you have questions about the device or you want us to follow up on something more, again, let us know in the comments. And as always, if you want to see new videos like this, or more product videos and unboxings and really sweet product shots, which we typically do, except for this video, go ahead and subscribe. So, until next time, this is Reclaimer with 2XP Gaming. We'll see you soon, internets, and have a good holiday.